Hi, welcome back to 12 Step Up. My name is Richie. Um, we focus on 12 step programs, alcohol, drugs, anything. Today we have a special guest. His name is Michael. Michael, how are you?
Doing good.
Good, good. How much sobriety time do you have?
7 years.
7 years?
Yeah, October 28th, 2015.
Man, 7 years, huh? Okay. Let's get into some of when did you start drinking or using?
Started drinking around the age of 11. Um, Started off just with holidays and whenever my parents drank, I'd dip in.
They didn't know, obviously.
Oh, they knew.
They knew.
Oh, yeah.
All right. When did your drinking career kick off? Like when was it that you were always drinking?
Well, I drank every weekend in high school.
Okay.
And then when I went into the military, I started drinking anytime, any chance I got. Mostly it was still every weekend. But
It checks out. That's a story I've heard a lot.
yeah.
Um, so why don't you tell us? I don't like to get into drinking logs as much. I like to just ask, just questions about how bad it was. So why don't you just tell me like your worst experience or your worst time in your drinking career?
Um, So worst time and as far as uncontrollable or
Uncontrollable, yeah.
all right. Um, it was after the divorce, after coming back from Iraq, and I started partying all the time, going to the clubs, and and that was drinking every day, all day. I would wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning, hit the liquor store, buy enough, probably 2 gallons or 2 half gallons, and then you know, well, I'd be drinking with other people, but drink all the way until the next morning, sleep a couple hours, get up, hit the liquor store first thing
Get
again.
back to it.
And I did that for 3 months nonstop until unemployment ran out. And then, well, I remember detoxing, and that was, yeah, one of the most brutal things I think I ever went through.
Did you get the DTs and stuff?
Um, Looking back, yeah,
Yeah.
but I was, I've, I ruined a mattress because I sweated so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mattress was
Oh,
soaked through. The box spring was had a big old sweat mark.
I know all that too well too.
Yes.
So there's a there's a gap. So by the time you're in high school and you're in the military, why don't you just kind of give us a brief?
Close the gap.
Yeah.
Um, I joined the military in high school at 17. Uh, I finished high school, so I did between my junior and senior year. I left to training, came back, finished my senior year, then left for 9 more months of training, then came back, uh, got married, volunteered to deployed, and then came back. And within probably 9 months of being back, that was where, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So when was it the time when you decided, or whoever decided for you, or God told you to stop drinking?
Oh, that was a long time in the future.
Long time in the future. So you
Yeah,
had a lot of stuff happen in between then, huh?
yeah. So that was around 2012. Yeah, 2012 was the hard drinking. No, 2011 was about the hard drinking. But and so I didn't get sober till 2015. And so, um, yeah, I went to prison in 2012. Got out. Was on the run by the end of 2013. Ended up in Arizona in 2014. And then 9 months in Arizona, back up here, and then and so this whole time I've been drinking and using drugs, but I thought I was a drug addict, not an alcoholic, because I never went to jail for alcohol.
Right.
I've always went to jail for drugs. So
So that doesn't qualify you as an
so
alcoholic.
in
That's
my
right.
mind, it did not
That's
qualify.
right. That's right.
If I just wanted to use the drugs, I would have been fine drinking.
Yeah.
So I go to Arizona, and I get out of jail down. Well, I get expedited back up here, and then I get out, and I start working. I'm not gonna use drugs anymore, but then I start drinking, and as soon as I start drinking, I get
Because
too,
you're not an alcoholic.
because I'm not an
That's right.
alcoholic, and as soon as I get drunk enough, drugs sound pretty good to sober me up. So then I end up high. Then I stop drinking again because I'm not an alcoholic.
Right.
I'm a drug addict.
Yeah.
And the ruthless cycle continues until October 27th, where I said I was done. And then in treatment, I qualified myself as an alcoholic. Looking back, because I don't know about you, but for me, hindsight is how I learn. Yeah, I don't change anything really until I'm miserable enough to change it. So
So your story is very similar to my story, minus the military. But there was a certain person that helped you find your source, a higher power. The only reason I say this is because you've told me and I've heard you share about it. Why don't you tell us about this person?
all right. A little back description. I was selling drugs and living that lifestyle, and some people got hurt, so I went on the run to Arizona. Hurt, got in some more conflicts in Arizona, ended up in jail, and at the time I had a 7-year-old daughter, 7 or 8. Didn't have anything really to conversate with her, and the charges I was being held on, I figured I was going to go away for a long time. I thought that that was the end of the run, and so my daughter was baptized Catholic, and so I asked for Catholic services. This little lady, Lucia, she'd walk 3 miles to the jail on Wednesday, walk 3 miles home, and then she would come and see me every Wednesday. And she asked me a couple questions. She asked me if I thought I could be forgiven for the things I'd done. Told her no. Um, and then she asked me if I would do a couple things, and told her sure. And so she asked me to read a book. Well, it's not a book. It's just daily prayer, meditation. It's scripture reading, but it's consolidated into a book for certain liturgical seasons and days. Pretty much it's like any book that you get that says January 6th. Okay, well, I'm going to read today's opening, January 6th, right? So she handed me the book. She said, read it every day. And when it says turn to page 187, turn to page 187 and read the prayers that it says. She said, it doesn't matter if you understand them, it doesn't matter anything about it. Just open it, read them, and you're done. And so essentially, she was having me do what a priest does. She was having me do morning, evening, and night prayer, and to pray the mass, which only priests pray the mass. But well, they don't only pray the mass, but yes, the words that I was saying were the words that a priest would say to consecrate the host, and so on and so forth. So not knowing what I was doing, I did that for 9 months, and she also taught me to pray the rosary. And so the rosary, all it is a meditation upon the life of Christ. And so all you do, you got 10 beads, you do 10 Hail Marys, and in those 10 Hail Marys, you're thinking of something out of the gospel. And so if you're meditating on the wedding feast at Cana, that's like you're just contemplating what it meant. And you're asking for guidance from God or some form, the Holy Spirit, Mary, whatever, to help you understand. And so, yeah, I gained a relationship with a higher power. So, coming back and starting to drink and drug again didn't work out too well. So,
So the reason I ask you about this is because I know, fast forward a few years after that, you got in touch with your higher power again. Um,
mm-hmm.
but why don't we talk about when you actually got sober, how it all began?
All right. So I was working at Pasco Processing. When I came back from Arizona and I got those charges, I took conspiracy charges, and so I had less of a sentence, and they released me the same day. I just went and applied for a job and started working. And then, like most alcoholics, we progressively move up the chain rapidly quick. And so, yeah, before I knew it, I was the lead of the packaging department. And then I was running 7 packaging lines. I was an operator lead, and then, it was like pretty much like a supervisor almost. And yeah, working long shifts, and so not praying, not doing anything, because I didn't know how to do those things unless I was locked in a jail cell and
Yeah.
had nothing else to do. So that led to drinking. Drinking, I got too drunk at a casino one night, and I knew my brother had drugs on him, so I called him, and then pretty much forced him to give me his drugs. And yeah, then I got high, and then it was off to the races again. But this time it was way different. Uh, Knowing that I was doing wrong made it miserable. And so the last 20 days of my addiction and stuff was, you want the detail? Or
No, no,
no? All
no.
right. Well, I was just trying to overdose by using too much drugs.
Hmm.
But every time I did, I would wake up.
Hmm.
So, and I did that for about 20 days. And then I woke up on the 27th. And at this point, just a week prior to this, I used a stolen credit card at Fred Meyer, which is like the dumbest crime you could ever do. Identity theft in the second. Um, yeah, on camera. And my aunt, to top it off, like it was definitely a God thing, because my aunt came up and scanned her rewards card. She hadn't seen me in, I don't know, a year or two. And all of a sudden she sees me at the self checkout, and she walks up and she goes, beep. That pretty much like guaranteed that it was me. Because, oh yeah, she definitely, as soon as the cops contacted her, she was like, oh yeah, that was my nephew. So yeah, um, that led to uh, on the 27th, I was wanted by the cops, and I didn't want to live no more. And so I felt like to save me from myself was to go and do what I knew, which was go to jail. And yeah, so I called the cops and told them where I was, and he showed up, and they arrested me. And then he asked me if I needed an ambulance. I told him no. I just told him I was done, and that was the start of my sobriety, as far as doing something other than doing something that I wouldn't normally ever do. So,
So let's talk about when you first got sober. How easy or how hard was it for you?
well, so I didn't think I was going to be able to. I thought I was going to prison when I got arrested. So I thought I was going to prison when I got arrested because I already had max points. And so when the judge said that he was going to give me residential DOSA and I would go to treatment, I was like, okay. And then he also told me that I would have 24 months of community custody. And the prosecutor, she's dealt with me for my whole career, and she told the judge that I was an unrehabilitated criminal, that there was no form of rehabilitation that would ever rehabilitate somebody like me. And so, with that being said, the judge said that if within the 24 months of community custody, if I hiccuped or stepped out of line just once, I would be doing 31 months.
Nice.
And he said that, he said 23 months and 28 days, you hiccup, you're doing 31 months. And so, yeah, there was a big weight hanging over, but at the same time, I was ready to do whatever it took because, I mean, yeah, going to the bitter end, blotting out the consciousness of my problem was not working.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I was willing to do whatever it took. So treatment, everything in treatment was, I listened to everything. I soaked it up like a sponge, even the stuff I didn't agree with.
So you so you go to treatment center and you start working the program, and
Mm-hmm.
how does that change?
Um, well, we started doing meetings in the treatment center, right? We didn't know what we were doing, looking back, but we did read the promises. We did read how it works, and then we just pretty much gave drunk logs around the room. But there was no solution because we were all in treatment,
Right.
right? So, um, but yeah, I learned. Well, I identified myself as an alcoholic in treatment, and it was suggested that I do some form of 12-step program. And so when I got out of treatment, that was probably the scariest part, right? Because when I'm contained,
Institutionalized.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
When I'm free, um,
you're
my
free.
mind likes to be free and do whatever it thinks is right. So yeah, I got out. Um, I started going to meetings and I did what they suggested. I found a sponsor and I worked the steps. And so I would go to a 10 o'clock at night meeting because I work graveyard. Because of course I got my old job back, right? Um,
How lucky you are.
yeah, it's just funny how they just don't learn their lessons and they just keep hiring us back. Uh, or maybe it's just how well we perform even when we're not doing well.
Maybe God is doing for us what we can't do for
There we
ourselves.
go. Yeah. And so, yeah, I got out, started working, and then I got to the I got to a church and asked them how to go about continuing this journey. And this lady, she sat down with me and we talked for hours. Pretty much, I spilled everything to her, and then she told me how to do those things. And so that part moved forward with my sobriety. So they were together, and so hard. No, I had 24 months to do community custody, and I still had 31 months hanging over my head. Looking back, I didn't really view it as that because I was at that point of desperation where I wanted whatever it took to change. So,
So so today, your life, how is your life today?
um, 100, well, completely different. Uh, I have different responsibilities today than I did then. Um, I mean, I have a house, I have a wife, kids. My daughter lives with me now. Um, and
That's one of the
these are all
most beautiful gifts, man.
direct results of working the steps and staying sober. Um,
See that when I tell you that your story is similar to mine, my son lives with me. It's not my current wife's son. It's from my first wife.
mhm,
And to me, that's one of the most, it's one of the best gifts that sobriety has given to me. Um, this last weekend, we were at a football game. He's never been to a professional football game. Um, but the whole time we're at the game, I kept looking at his face. And at one point, I had to
mhm,
do this because I could see the happiness. And that just, I don't know, that just brought so many emotions. So I know what it is to have those gifts. Uh, so today, how many? I mean, you're busy. Obviously, you have a life that you probably didn't want or need or you thought, but today, I see you and I see a straight up dude. Um, do you help others? Do you give back what was freely given to you?
yeah. I mean, I've been of service. I've operated as a chairperson for certain service structures, and in the beginning of my sobriety, I lived in a house that was full of new guys, constant rotation. And so I sponsored a lot of guys in the beginning of my sobriety. But as sobriety grows and you start becoming more of an active member of society, and your wife and you get a kid, and um, yeah, it makes it more of a challenge to stay stay in service. But at the same time, I was told a long time ago when I was worried about doing the 12 step that the 12 step's not just sponsoring another guy.
Yes.
The 12 step is being of service as far as even down to the making coffee before a meeting, or down to even just dumping coffee in somebody's cup
Yep.
so they don't have to get up.
That's a fact.
These are all service. This is all working the 12 step. So, of course, I take things to the extreme. Like, it's like, oh, well, I got to be like doing this, right? Um,
Maybe some kind of
but
alcoholic or something.
yeah, I don't know what. Or if I'm not doing the extreme on this side, I'm just not doing it at all
Right.
because I don't want to be in the middle.
So
So,
how's your balance? How's your life balance right now? How would you describe that?
well, life balance has been the thing, the target for the last 3 years, and it's been unbalanced. So it just goes up, and then I'll get in on the beam. I'll be doing great, and then life happens, and I choose to get off the beam, and then I have to get back on, and yeah. So currently, like, I'm sponsoring two guys, and then now I'm currently working an hour and a half away from home,
That's awesome.
so I'm driving 3 hours a day, and so those guys are not gonna get they're not gonna get what they need, but um, I have a phone, so I could still be we could still do things over the phone. People sponsor over the phone, so and I could still get them on the weekend. So there's always ways around it. It's just not my idea
Yeah.
of how I should be doing it or how I want to be doing it, right?
So
And so,
some people say getting sober is the hard part. To me, I've seen that, or I feel like staying sober is the actual hard part. What do you think?
living sober for me is the
Living
hard part.
sober, yes.
I don't want, like, I have no desire to use. I mean, I've lost, I've had a lot of losses in sobriety,
Yeah.
and never did I feel like, oh, if I go and get drunk right now, it's gonna feel amazing. Never. It's just, I like being restored to sanity. That is a completely insane statement that if I drink, I'm going to feel better.
Yeah.
I already know that I will not feel better. I will, I can't even lie to myself anymore
Yeah.
on that fact.
So let me ask you this. I ask everybody this, and everybody's answer is always different. What would be some inspirational words or a suggestion or an advice for somebody that's struggling, for somebody that's trying to get sober, doesn't know how to sober? What would you? What are some words of wisdom?
Well, if you're ready to get sober, then you have to do things that you're not going to want to do. You're going to have to do things that are suggested to you. And like they told me when I got here, the only thing I have to change is everything.
That's right.
And that pissed me off to the point of like I wanted to just leave because for one, I didn't even know who I was anymore because I was already acting completely different by asking for help and by doing things that were completely alien to me or
Yep.
like
Yep.
yeah. So if you're really ready, then um, when you don't want to do something, just do it. When somebody asks you to do something and you don't want to, you should probably do it. Uh, and you should probably get in the middle of a 12-step program and surround yourself by people that are doing the real thing.
That's right.
Because if you sit in the dope house or you sit in the bar or if you stay in that old lifestyle, it's only a matter of time. The clock's just going to tick until you break. So
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for your service. Thank you for doing this interview. Once again, guys, this is 12 Step Up. If you guys are going through something, trying to figure out how to get sober, you guys can email us. We'll try to get you guys some help. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. That's how we get our message across. All right, thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week.